Hi, everybody. This is Lindsay with Birthing Matters Doula Services, and today I have Shirley Ann Rodriguez of Shirley Ann Photography. I've been wanting to do this video for I don't know how long, maybe 2 years at this point, and we're finally making it happen.
Yay.
And so I'm super excited to have Shirley here. We are actually in the acupuncture studio of Edja Yildirim at New Moon Acupuncture. She saved us a drive down to our studio in Roslindale tonight and saved us from our houses filled with rambunctious children so that we could record this.
Specifically, yes.
Record this in peace. So here we are, and I'm super excited to be doing this video today. So I want to focus this interview around birth photography because I feel like I get a lot of questions about what birth photography is, and I really wanted to bring Shirley on to explain everything, but I also want to get the people who are watching this an idea of everything that you offer and what Shirley Ann Photography is about and what you're about. So I'd love for a little introduction.
Thank you. So yes, I am the owner of Shirley Ann Photography. And excuse my voice, I have something going on. I don't know what it is. Like,
I'll scoot a little further away.
So yeah, I focus mostly on anything related to motherhood. I like to focus my images on mom, and when I say mom, it could be a new mom or somebody that is older that has already older children. So I do anything from announcing your pregnancy to maternity sessions, newborn sessions, up until your children are older and you want to capture them as older children. So that's definitely one of the things that I do. But my heart is definitely with birth photography. That's what I would love to do full time, and where I aim my business towards. So yes.
So tell us about like how you got into birth photography, what inspired you to get into doing birth photography, and what you did like professionally to prepare yourself to be in that kind of situation.
So let me start with what got me into birth photography. So I had my first son 7 years ago, and at that time photography was not allowed in the hospital, at least in the hospital where I gave birth in Puerto Rico, and we were only allowed disposable cameras. So that was the only type of documentation that we were allowed to have. Yeah, terrible, I know.
So that the doctor could be like, oh, never mind.
Yeah, you can throw it away. I don't know. Anyways, so after that, I saw one of my cousins that had a home birth, and she had a photographer, and that's where my inkling for birth photography started. That's where I started following these amazing birth photographers in Texas and in Colorado, like Leilani Rogers. And then about 2.5 years ago, I've had a camera for years, but I never thought about actually doing photography as a business. So about 2 years ago, I said, oh, you know what, I'm gonna start photography. And because I've always been passionate about birth, I said, you know what, I'm going to do photography and I'm going to do birth photography. And that's where it all technically started.
And that's when we first met.
And that's where we first met. I think Lindsay was definitely one. No, not Lindsay. It was actually Emily, one of the persons that I first reached out to. And Emily connected me to you. Yeah. So Emily from Beantown Babies, right?
No. Beantown Babies, and she's Baby Bean maternity consultant. There's lots of beans in Boston.
So, yes, that. So she connected me with Lindsay, and Lindsay has had her own experience with birth photography, so she was super excited. And I was super excited that somebody actually opened their doors to me and was like very acceptable of having a birth photographer get together with her as a doula. So that's where birth photography for me started. And then what did I do to prepare myself?
Did you just kind of dive in? I mean, that's fine if that's the answer.
So to be honest, one of the first things that I did was learn how to manage my camera.
Yeah.
And then I followed a lot of people, like different groups, and I was learning just by reading their mistakes and all of this. I was just absorbing all of this information. And then I was able to do my first birth at a hospital, and that was definitely a learning experience for me. It wasn't like a low light situation, but just knowing how to work with providers, knowing how to change your exposure and all of that in the setting, it was very important, and it was like an eye-opening situation for me. So I did a lot of reading. I did a lot of like personal education. So all of this I've learned from myself. So I literally, like you said, I just dived in and hoped for the best.
Awesome. I mean, so I've done births with Shirley before, and we have a couple coming up that I'm super excited about. And I have been, I was, wow, like she just kind of like blends into the background. You don't even really notice that she's here, which I think is a huge skill that often takes learning. So that's why I was curious. Oh, let's talk about that a little bit, actually. Like, what is it like to be in the room and to be like navigating those relationships with providers and making sure that you're kind of, you know, that they're happy with you being in the room and that your clients are happy with you being in the room. You know, just tell us a little bit about that.
Which is very important to have providers and nurses and doctors happy.
Yeah.
So I always refer to my clients, well, I always refer myself to my clients as a fly on the wall. I'm not in your birth space. I will stay away as much as I can. I might go in at certain points to just get specific details of the birth, or like certain things that caught the attention or that I want you to have when you see your images. But I usually capture as an eagle eye, basically, somebody from outside. So I capture the whole story. I capture whoever's in the room. The socks that you had that day, anything like that, that are things that you as a laboring mom might not remember. The drink that the doula was giving you, things like that are things that I like to capture, because I remember my own births, and I don't remember my own births, actually. There's very little details I remember about it, and I think if I would have had the images of my birth, I would remember a lot more. So I think that's one of my goals with my photography, for you to remember those little things that you might have been like, oh, I didn't notice that was there, or that the doula was doing this and my husband was doing that, or my partner was doing this other thing. So for me, it's definitely about capturing the whole story from an outside perspective. That's definitely one of my goals. When it comes to the providers and how I work with them, I usually ask for their permission to be in the images. So I ask both the nurses that are assigned to your birth, as well as the OB that's going to be giving.
And you've done home births too, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I have. I've done, I think it's 2 births.
But in home births too, then there's a provider that is really like the clinical care of the pregnant laboring person and the baby are priority, right?
Yes,
and so
definitely.
You're always sort of navigating that.
And
situation.
I am very aware of that. I've had a lot of nurses and OBs that are very like, oh, here, so you can take this shot, and they bring the baby up and all of this, and I'm like, just keep on doing whatever you're doing. I try to stay away of their computers and all of their equipment as much as I can. Sometimes I want to get a shot that I have to be in front of their equipment, but I automatically get out and they're usually, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, no need to say sorry, because this is your job and I'm doing my job. So I just want to stay away from their situation. So usually I'm very respectful for their space. I always try to stay out of my laboring mom's space, my the partner's space. That way you can focus on what you're doing, focus on actually bringing your baby to this world. My goal there is to document your story, how it happens. It's not about me intervening in any type of way.
Mhm.
I talk to you as much as you want to talk to me. If you don't want to talk to me because you're laboring, that's fine. I'll stay in the outside. If you want to talk to me and when we want to make jokes, we can do it. It really depends on how you're feeling and how they want to navigate. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So these kinds of questions are things that come up in prenatal meetings when I'm talking to my clients about who they envision being in the room and what kind of memories they want to gather from this experience. And I always bring up birth photography, and I get like one of two reactions. One reaction is, "Oh, I never really thought about that. I'd love to get some more information," and the other reaction is,
Oh.
Why?
What?
Because they don't really understand like what it is that you're capturing, and I think that a lot of people think that like you're there to like take pictures of the baby crowning and all of that, whereas like really it's about capturing the story, like you were saying. It's not about getting
the crotch shot.
Yeah, it's not the if you want the crotch shot, then
I'll do it. I have no issues with that. It really goes down to what the family wants.
Yeah.
If I have families that just want their interaction, I'll do that. If they want the moment when the baby is coming out, like every little detail.
I remember our birth photographer asked us like what we wanted to capture, and I was like, why not? I can always toss it afterwards, but some people are very uncomfortable. So.
I actually send out a questionnaire to my clients, and they can mark there, like, if I'm gonna be at the actual birth, where do you want me located? Do you want side shots? Do you want me in the back of you? The back of you really depends on the hospital and how much space they have, but I really leave it down to the family's desires and what they are interested in doing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm trying to think what else I wanted to cover. So you mentioned that I had birth photographers at both of my births, and anyone who has seen me anywhere on social media has seen me rave about how much I love my birth photos. Really because like those first moments of meeting your baby are ones that you never get back. And it's impossible to capture with a newborn photographer. You're not looking at your baby for the first time. You're not introducing your baby to your partner for the first time. There's all these unique moments that you can't get back. So I cherish my birth. I'm getting a little like. I cherish my birth photos more than any other picture of my family, seeing like the way that my partner was supporting me the day of, seeing again those first pictures. So we had like digital images and an album that we like selected some of our favorites, and those were the products that we were provided, I think, with both times. Can you talk? I know that like one of your things is like having these beautiful products that people can purchase. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So for birth photography specifically, I do include in my packages an album. I think it's very important to have something tangible where you're able to sit down and actually go over them, especially when your children are starting to grow.
Yeah. My 4-year-old loves looking at their pictures, and they're like,
I do the same.
Who is that? And they ask questions about my midwife because she was Indian, and she like can see that she's got darker skin. She's like, who is that? I don't know who that is. And I'm like, oh, that's Saras. That's your midwife who helped you be born. And she's like, oh. And now she talks about Saras as if she knows her.
I love it. So yeah, I think that's one of my goals when I include an album in my packages. I think it's very important to have that thing where you can sit down when your children get older and just go over the images and look at them and kind of relive all those moments. And like you were saying, you get very emotional. It brings so much memories. And that's definitely one of my goals. So I do have albums included, but I also offer other type of products like wall art. I also offer, depending on the family's needs, so smaller albums. I have 2 prints Different things. It really depends on what the family is looking for. For births, I always recommend the album because
Oh
it's
yeah,
just the best way to
yeah,
have the bigger story as compared to having just one piece blown up into a wall art, which
yeah, yeah.
I've known there's a lot of birth photographers that actually do that.
Mm-hmm.
That people are interested in at least blowing like that first picture that you took as a family, like just blow it up and put it in the nursery or something like
Yeah.
that. It's beautiful, and I've seen
Oh, excuse the sirens.
and I've seen wall art like of birth images printed out, and it's just amazing because there's so many raw emotions going when you're giving birth, when you're laboring, when you see your baby like he's out for the first time.
Mm.
It's just an amazing experience, and for me to be
Those
able to
those
capture it.
images where the partner goes in for a
Oh my
kiss and like a
God,
reminder that you're doing
yes.
awesome.
Yeah, no, trust me.
Yeah.
It's for me as an additional person in the room, it is such a privilege to be able to be in your space, to be in the space of my clients, and just capture this. I get teary at all of my births. I'm like, oh my God, so excited. So it's definitely one of those moments that I aim to just capture as much as I can for my clients. Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm very passionate about it.
And I love following you and love seeing all the pictures. And we're gonna actually, since we're not recording this video live, we're gonna follow it up with a stream of Shirley's pictures. So if you're curious what birth photography looks like, just stay past when we're done talking, and you'll get to see some of those.
Oh, I wanted to add. So most of my packages also include a image slideshow. So they get that as well for their own like personal experience, or unless they want to put it online, that's totally fine with me. I don't mind. But that's also something that I like to include as well because nowadays we're very visual. A lot of children are very into images or like videos, so I like to include that as well as an added bonus.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you want the viewers to know?
Right now that I think of, no. If you guys have any questions for me, feel free to put it in the comments and I can definitely reply back. Usually my brain is just out of whack, so I won't remember.
Do you want to quickly tell people how to find you, or should we just put it in the caption?
Well, I can be found on my website. You can just Google Shirley and photography and you should be able to find me. But we'll put it down in the description box as well, just in case.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for the beautiful slideshow.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for coming. I'm glad this worked out.